Hi there. Welcome back to Fully Blessed. I'm Amanda, and this is the channel where we discuss timeless truths about issues that are important to women of faith. And today, we're talking about dating, something that is very relevant and near and dear to a lot of us. But if that doesn't describe you, don't leave just yet, because a lot of what I'm going to say, while I relate it to the dating world, is really applicable in any type of relationship. Whether that be family members or coworkers or even a roommate, this is something that we all need to keep in mind. So join us today as we discuss some things that I found super helpful and super important to remember in dating. So the first thing that I'd like to do is start by giving you a warning. If you're going to be dating, be ready to be humbled. You can be sure that hidden sins or things that are potentially an idol are going to be exposed. Your buttons are going to be pushed, and so be ready to grow, be ready to be refined, and be ready to apologize when it's necessary. So I would like to encourage you to make a commitment from day one to only see the good in your boyfriend, husband, whoever he may be at the moment. Because the truth is, no one is going to be perfect. Not you, not him, ever. So don't dismiss someone too quickly by thinking, oh, I can find somebody better. Maybe he's not the one. But just because you don't think he's perfect, don't let that be the reason to dismiss him, because you're not going to find someone who is, including yourself. So the next couple things that I want to share with you, I found super helpful as it relates to conflict resolution, which can be a big thing in relationships, especially in the dating world. So let me begin with a reminder to fight fair. When you have a problem and you are working through a conflict together, don't use emotional manipulation to try to sway your boyfriend. This automatically puts them in a bad place. It makes them defensive right away, and that's just not how we handle an argument. And in the same vein, don't have an argument or a discussion about something that's important when he can't hear you. You know, guys tend to not be very good at multitasking, so when he's in the middle of something, now is probably not the best time to have that important discussion. Wait until his attention can be devoted to you. Or if it's really important, ask him to stop and give you your attention. I promise you that it will go much better for you if you do that. Also take into consideration his habits. Is he a night owl? Okay, if he is, then calling him at 7 in the morning to discuss something super important while you're both on the way to work probably isn't going to go very well for you. You're probably going to find later that he's like, I don't remember we talked about that. Well, we did, but probably because we didn't pick a very great time to do it. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about discussing important things with him. And when you do this, this shows him instinctively that you care about him and respect him because you took the time to remember his needs as well as your own. And something that I would like to encourage you to, as you are going through some conflict resolution, is if something is bothering you or annoying you, ask yourself, is this going to be important in 2 years? In 6 months? Next week? No? Well, then maybe it's actually not worth arguing over. Maybe it's something that you can let go. And as you're having these discussions about things that you just can't agree on, are you willing to be the one who's wrong? Are you willing to be the one who needs to change? If you're going into a fight or a discussion and you automatically know that you are right and you're not going to budge, that's really not a conversation. That's really not a debate. So be ready to be the one who is wrong and be ready to admit that you might be the one who needs to change. I would also encourage you to remember that if you are very upset about this, and you may be rightly so, this might not be the time to fix this. You might have to say, you know what, I cannot handle this right now. I cannot rationally discuss this right now. I can't do this in a respectful way right now. Can we discuss this later? and that might be okay. You can't do that all the time. I understand. Sometimes it is important and it's essential that you fix this now, but not always. And so if you need to, and you can, it might be wise to say that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the biggest conviction I always have is, why is this bothering me? Is this actually something that is a problem? Or is this really just getting on my nerves because my pride is being bothered? If it is, then that might actually show that I'm the one who needs to change. I'm the one who needs to grow. I'm the one who has something to fix, not necessarily him. So when you come to problem solving and you have a difficult thing that you have to discuss and get over, some effective phrases that I found that might be really helpful would be things like, I noticed that you do this, or I'm feeling like this when that happened, or, well, my thought was, I was wondering if we could try this. If you do things like that, then that shows that you are willing to be the one who is open to discussion, first of all, but also it's putting the problem back on me. I must have heard wrong. There's something I'm not understanding. Can you help me understand better? Like, this does not make our boyfriend or husband defensive, but also it allows them to be the fixer. They get to help me solve a problem, and that puts them in a much better place. And men think very differently, obviously. So if you hear his thoughts and he can hear you voice yours, well, now we both know where we're coming from. And so now, hopefully, that helps to solve some problems. I don't have to get upset that you're doing something this way. Well, because now I understand why you're doing what you're doing. It no longer bothers me as much anymore because while I may not like it, I know why you're doing it, if that makes sense. And another thing also, it might be helpful to remember that just because we are saying something, we can't expect our husband, boyfriend, to pick up on hints. They may, and that's great and wonderful, but we can't expect them to read our minds. We may have to point blank say, I need you to do this. I need help. Please do this. You might have to come out and just flat out say what you need. That sometimes is the most helpful. And guys like to be very purposeful and practical anyway. Now, sometimes we might do something and they might be upset because they don't see the reason why. But you might just simply have to say, I arranged it like that because, or I chose those colors because, I like, this is how it looked the nicest, or whatever it might be. You might just have to give them your practical reason why, and it might help them to understand better. I've also found that instead of just saying, well, I want it done this way, maybe give them an option. Instead of just saying, I want to paint the bathroom, and then arguing over what color we should paint it, how about just offering, I would like to paint the bathroom, and I found this gray paint that I like, or this blue paint that I like. Which one do you like better? Yeah, I've kind of helped eliminate the problem by giving two suggestions that are both agreeable to me, and now I give him some helpful places to start. And he is also able to give his input then, which validates his opinions. And I would also like to encourage you that not all disagreements or arguments or discussions have to be won or fixed. There may be some things that you just end up having to agree to disagree on. And that's okay. We don't necessarily have to fix or solve everything. We may not agree on everything. In fact, it would be pretty rare to have two human beings who agree 100% on everything. So the thing to do would be to discuss ahead of time. Okay, we know we don't agree on this. What are we going to do when we come to that bridge later in the future and this becomes a problem? How will we handle it? And then you can move from there. And the last thing that I would bring up for you that is super helpful to remember is communication. I cannot stress how important this is. As you see, we've been talking a lot about it already, but the reason it's so important is because the more we communicate, the better we are able to understand each other, which leads to less arguments, but also one of the biggest reasons that we have arguments is due to unmet needs or expectations. Well, if we simply communicate our needs and our expectations, then we eliminate a lot of problems because our boyfriend knows what we are thinking, what our expectations are, and now we can move forward. So help to eliminate that problem. And if we can do that, the more we can do that before we get married, then the less surprises there will be after we get married, which will hopefully lead to a much smoother lifetime together for you. Many couples go to divorce not because of big things, but little things that if they had communicated well through their dating or their first years of marriage, they might have been able to solve that. But instead, they didn't communicate well, and there was a lot of unmet expectations and a lot of unmet needs that simply never went spoken. So I pray that is a help for you today. If it is, please do share with someone you know that it might be a blessing to. And remember that you are fully blessed because of the work that Jesus has done in your life. So go and be a blessing today.